To be heard is to be noticed. To be noticed is one step closer to being known. And yet, in the knowing, all mystery slips away. How do disembodied beings choose to communicate with us? Do they do it through our physical bodies? Through our technology? What is this phenomenon that we seek to understand? And is the point of the phenomenon to be understood or to simply be noticed? Today on the podcast, I interviewed Brittany McAlister, and during the editing part of the podcast, at about 45 minutes, I noticed that the audio started doing something really strange, something that I have never seen before. And I pop in during the audio and I bring your attention to it, and I want to talk a little bit about it now because it is something that is so curious to me and that I don't fully understand, and I'm not sure that understanding it is the point. So I wanted Brittany to come on and just kind of share her story, a little bit of information about the work that she does with the aliens and her witchcraft and things like that. And once we started talking about Hekate is when the audio started getting really weird. And so I said it during the editing part when I went back in and recorded some audio over just to draw your attention to it and explain why I kept some of the audio glitches in there, because I think that it's just really interesting, and I'm really excited to catch this kind of phenomenon on audio for a podcast and to share it with you guys. So yeah, we talk about a lot of different things. You'll get into it. I am just kind of focused on the whole weirdness of it, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear it. So also, I wanted to read a definition for you guys. I talked a little bit about ultra terrestrials, and I was like nervous that I totally got it wrong. And while I didn't get it totally wrong, I did not get it totally right. So I'm going to read the very resourceful information I got from urbandictionary.com with the definition. So an ultra terrestrial is a superior non-human entity of natural or supernatural origin that is indigenous to planet Earth. UFOs, fairies, and elves are believed by some paranormal researchers to be ultra-terrestrials. So there's the official definition. I think I basically nailed it, but just so you guys have that for your reference. And, I get all my information from urbandictionary.com. So I would recommend that for you guys. So anyways, I'm really excited for you guys to hear this. It's a great interview. It starts to get weird around 45 minutes. I will pop in to draw your attention to it. I talk a little bit about the reasons why I kept some of the audio in at the end of the podcast, so stick around after that. And yeah, I love you guys. I hope you enjoy. Cool. So I start out every podcast with asking my guests when they come on to tell me a time where they experienced animal communication. And it can be anything from like literally talking to your dogs that you have now. It can be really basic. It can be third dimensional, or it can be woo as fuck, anything that you can think of.
So the first, I would say the most intense experience is I had a dachshund when I was 17, and she transitioned about a year and a half ago. And for an entire 2 months after she died, she was in my dreams every single night. But I see her like she's still physically here. I feel her and I hear her. It's almost, I have experiences with mediumship, but this dog, it's the most intense experience of this soul has never left. I mean, I see her as real as I did when she was in this reality.
And so when you said that you said you almost like trip over her in the house, right?
Yeah, I have two things that I trip over. One is her. I think it's like a black coat in the floor, and then I'm tripping over air, and then I almost like impale myself with like corner tables, and I'm tripping over nothing. But there's also like this, I think it's probably a Lyran cat that shows up every now and then, and I don't have cats. So
What makes you think it's a Lyran cat?
It disappeared after my galactic soldier contract ended, and it was very visible during my open alien channel in my house.
Okay. Can you talk about your galactic soldier contract?
So when I first woke up for the second time in 2019 in July, I died for about like 2 weeks. I had pneumonia, and I was like deathly ill for almost 14 days, but like time stopped, and it was very strange. Anyway, I'm a walk-in too. So I walked in during that time. And so immediately when I finally stopped being ill from the pneumonia, I had intense fear of like, I was having all these dreams of everybody dying, friends dying, I'm dying. It was a big, like, everybody's dying in the dreams all the time. And it was taking a lot on me. I was talking to my psychiatric nurse practitioner. She had diagnosed me with PTSD because a year beforehand I'd been involved in like a mall shooting that was pretty traumatic. But even when she gave me that diagnosis, it didn't really fit, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It felt like that is some of it, but it didn't feel like all of it, you know? So I was just kind of like, okay. So then I started this medication. That's a blood pressure medication that they give to people who've gone over to fight war because it stops dreams. So they were getting so violent that I wasn't able to sleep. So she started me on this medicine, and it wasn't working. They were still just as violent, and I was still remembering them. And so she upped this medication, and it is a blood pressure medication. So you can only up it so much before it's like endangering my health, because I wasn't taking it for blood pressure. And so then there was one night in December where I woke up, and so I was doing all these things where I was doing two things. One, I was physically seeing war, and the only way I know how to describe it is if it's like a pop-up book, how there's different almost layers in that pop-up book of the different pop-ups. So that's what it looked like, and I was seeing warfare from generations on. So I would see them from like the 1700s and then all the way up to now, 2020. And the way that I would know that the time was different is like the further back it would be like black and white and super grainy. And then the further towards where we are now, it would be in more color. Like 2020 was in HD, while the 1700s was in like super grainy black and white. And I could also tell by the types of weapons that they were holding. So very like revolutionary type guns to like AK-47s, just like also with the weaponry. And it was making me feel like uneasy. And I mean, I just pretty much didn't sleep like at all for like 2 years. So that was one thing that was happening. And then I was also experiencing where I was doing kind of macro work where I'm going in and I'm closing down people's shitty timelines. So it was a bunch of places that I didn't recognize and people I didn't know, but they made me feel like shit every time, like that awful feeling in your solar plexus, in between your heart and your solar plexus, where I was like, this feels awful. And I couldn't figure out what either one of those things were. So both of those things were happening. I was taking the medication, and then in December, in the middle of the night, I guess got up. This is what I remember. And then it took me a while to piece it together. I remember being startled awake, like terrified, ready to run for my life from whatever I was dreaming of. And then I vaguely remember being in the kitchen. And then I kind of come back into it on the toilet. And then I was in excruciating body pain. And then I saw what happened. Like this was, and I didn't know how to explain it because I had never been shown things like that before. So it pretty much, they showed me that I had jumped out of bed and then I had fallen because I'm in my tailbone and I was just in so much pain. I have tile floors. I had hit my tailbone on the tile floor and re-broken it. And then I hit my head on my bed and got a concussion. So I was like real fucked up. I couldn't like walk or sit for about a month. And I didn't realize I got a concussion until about 2 days later because I never washed my hair. And so I was like real fucked up, as you can imagine. And then I go to take a shower and I'm washing my hair and I have like the hugest knot on my head. And then that's when I see like that I had fallen, broke my tailbone, hit my head. I go into my kitchen, like medicines everywhere. I don't know. It was fucking wild. So all these crazy, just continuously happening. And so much so it's continuing throughout all of this. Last December in 2020, I fall again. I'm just having these experiences of being clocked in and out of my consciousness, which is kind of a separate thing. So I'll go back to the dreams. So I do several readings and I'm getting a clearing from Amy Spicer. And so finally, I don't know why I've done a couple of readings for it. Doesn't dawn on me until like a couple of months ago in April. I'm like, where am I going at night? These are like, and I explained to her what I see and what I feel. And she's like, oh, it's a galactic soldier contract. And as soon as she said that, I didn't tell her about the war scene. I was just telling her about, I'm going to these places that I don't know with people I don't recognize, and it feels really bad. But when she said galactic soldier contract, it hit me of like all the dreams of like the weird war situations that I couldn't really explain. And then I was like, fuck that shit. I was like, I have to get out of this. It's been ruining my life. And she was like, oh no, I can see like you literally haven't slept for 2 years. So, and it was in my closet was just like an open channel for aliens. It was almost like if you can imagine stairs of just all kinds of things all the time. I mean, see shit all the time. I started going to bed at like 8 p.m. because I can't do darkness in my house. Too many things happen. The dogs hate everything in here all the time. And so I just, so I had to end it. That's a long story short. I had to end that contract because it was ruining my life.
Where do you think that contract was? That like, is that something like when they talk about like soul contracts before you come into this life, you agreed to it? Like what does a galactic like soldier, is that what it is? Galactic soldier, galactic warfare. Yeah. What is that like? What's the point? Are you supposed to be, and this might be a big question, but are you supposed to be fighting? Are you supposed to be like commanding these forces? Like what the fuck is all of that? Because it really just like, it sounds like one of those, it sounds like a really good example of your higher self agreeing to do something and not giving a fuck what it does to the avatar that you have in this life, because it sounded like it was really fucking up your body and your day-to-day life, but like you were maybe doing stuff on like in the ether in higher dimensions. Like what? I don't even know if I'm asking you a question.
No, this is what it feels like to me. I think they at opportune times will slip in. I think it has to be on your permission. I think maybe it feels like to me, if you are magic, which a lot of us, the more that you ascend, the more magic you are. It feels like the Galactic Federation is kind of like, hey, who wants to work here? Anybody want to work for us? You're magic. You want to work for us? You want to work for us? The reason why I say that is because when I started waking up, it was about, feels like for the first little bit, I was almost like in training. So that time that I fell, that was for the reason that I fell was I was taking that medication, and when I came back into my body, it was a near miss. the spirit back into the body from that astral projection was a near miss, is why I fell. But I think in those beginning stages, like the first 6 months, I was training. So it was just kind of like, I was learning all kinds of things. I was also having, alien school about being a galactic whale, like all different kinds of things, and one of them was fighting. But I remember this very distinct moment that I was listening to a podcast. It was, Jessa's on Soberish, and she said something about the Galactic Federation, and I laughed because I was like, that sounds funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she said it again, and I laughed again because I was like, that's so funny. Like, that's a funny thing to call it or whatever. And then they were like, you work for us too, right? And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah. And so it was like a week later, I had a clearing, and I was talking to Amy, and I said that. And I don't know if she knows what she was saying, but she said, do you want to do that? Do you want to work for them or whatever? And I said, well, yeah. And I said, yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. And right there is when it palpably was in overdrive. That was last summer, so almost a year after. And that's when I really didn't fucking sleep. And then I felt like I was denotting, like every dark nighting of the soul, like every 5 seconds. But it was because I literally went an entire year without sleeping. It was awful. And so I think that if you're magic, they will slip in ways and be like, hey, you want to work for us? Because I wasn't like high up or anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just like out there, like doing kind of baseline macroing, if that makes any sense. I wasn't making any shots, making any calls. I was just a literal soldier in the astral realm, so it's like two different things. So while we're trying to ascend here on Earth, it's like we're fighting through where we're, looking at ourselves, going through traumas. But then there's also something happening when we're going to sleep where we're fighting those in other dimensions and other timelines. And so that's where, that's where we're also going at night, if that makes any sense. I lost my train of thought.
So you mean like literally when we go to sleep at night, like we're going, and now I don't know if I specifically have been in contact with what we might consider to be aliens, or, there's the term extraterrestrial or ultra-terrestrial, and I kind of lean towards ultra-terrestrial. I don't know. Have you heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Ultra-terrestrials, the idea, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't butcher the definition, is that they are of the plane that we exist on. It's just like they're almost behind like a curtain. It's not like they come in from another planet on a ship. They're here already with us, just kind of walking amongst us. And like that, I think that like people that are, I don't know, because there's scientists and intellectuals who think about UFOs as coming in from other planets, and so they come at it with like a rational, I guess, I don't want to say, just like a rational intellectual process. And they're like, oh, they must be coming from another planet, but then so they stick to like UFO extraterrestrial. But I think ultra-terrestrial just kind of sits with my understanding of reality and my place and my role in reality and stuff. So all that to be said, I don't know if I've been directly contacted by like ultra-terrestrials, but when I go to the animal realm, I'm like always connected to the animal realm now, but when I first started testing my connection to it, I would journey, like shamanic journey down into the earth. And I feel like even if you're going down into the earth, you can still pop out above the earth or to any other realm. It's just kind of like you just use the roots of a tree or like a cave to like go down to come back up. And I would meet with, like, it was almost like a galactic council of animal spirits. And the reason I use the word galactic is probably because I don't have a better word to describe it. They looked like what I would imagine like Jessa and Amy and you would see galactic beings looking like. Like, I've heard Jessa describe it as like maybe their whole face is on fire, or there's like weird shapes going on. Like it's like they don't have like an actual face. And when I would meet with these like high council of animal elders or whatever the fuck you want to call them. They don't really care what you call them. That just sounds dope when I say it like that. They were like half animal, like half alien looking. And so I was like, I guess you're galactic animals. But yeah, I don't know if like, so it's like I'm magic and I'm awake, but maybe it's like me specifically. I'm not like, I mean, I feel really connected to the earth, but I think that the earth is obviously galactic as fuck because it's a rock in space. You know what I mean? A living, alive, spiritual fucking thing. Spiritual. Yeah, whatever. But anyways, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I guess it's like, do you feel like that everybody is going and doing like work with maybe extra ultra terrestrials, whatever you want to say, in their sleep? Or are we all going to kind of, what do you think that we're all just going to places that we have more or less like have a contract to go to and work on when we sleep?
You know, that's really interesting. I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So here's what it feels like. It feels like there are people who do macro work and then people that don't. And it feels like the people that do are visiting the dreams of the people that don't. I don't know if that's true, but that's what it looks like that they're showing me. I don't know if that's how everyone experiences it, because I have jumped a part of me, like I've jumped into someone's dream and it was fucking wild. And the only way I know how to, the only way I can tell you that it's different is like, it's like a movie happening, but you're there. But you could be like, hey everybody, hey, two people I don't know. And they like don't experience you. You're just in their dream. One time it was this couple and they were in my house and they were like arguing in front of my sink. And I was like, who are you? Why are you guys here? And they were just like, I wasn't there. They continued whatever was happening.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I've jumped into someone's dream here because no one's paying attention to me. I'm not the star of it, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's making me think about my own experiences when I dream, because I think I've heard the question asked, are you like the main character in your dream? Or are you like the observer? Like, are you watching a movie? Are you a part of the movie? And I go in and out of that throughout my dream. So like in one night, I mean, it could even be in like one experience in my dream. If I'm like walking in the woods in my dream, I am literally myself walking in the woods, seeing it from like my perspective. And then I also jump out and then I see myself walking in the woods. Like it's both. And sometimes I'm not even a part of what's going on, but there are all of the characters in the dream are like people that I know. Like, I think I have somebody that I know in my dream almost every night. It's rare that I don't know anyone, or maybe it's not like alarming to me when I wake up, because in the dream, I'm not consciously like, oh, I don't know these people. You know what I mean? I just feel like I'm just in the role, whatever it is, you know, and I don't know. I have looked at myself in the mirror in a dream once, which I don't know if you've ever done, but they say that if you look at yourself in the mirror in a dream, you won't be like, I wouldn't be Ashley as I know it. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like this, like elongate, like my head was really long. My neck was really long. Like I was just this like lanky, long, like gray. It was me, but like everything was really distorted and like long, elongated and freaky. And I was like, well.
I looked at myself in the mirror. This was one of the first times when I like, before I was still coming to terms with like alien stuff. Like I was still really wild in like 2019, you know what I mean? And I was looking at myself in the mirror in a dream, and it was on the right side of it was my face. And then on the left side, they showed me what my alien face looked like, but they were showing me that it was half alien. And it was like kind of that typical like gray long face or whatever. But what was interesting is they showed me that I had 3 gills in my face.
Whoa.
Which resonated, which was about around the time that like they were showing me that I was a galactic whale or whatever. But yeah, I just remember staring in the mirror and the right side of my face was my face, and the left side of my face was alien face.
Can you talk about what your experience is with knowing that you're a galactic whale?
I hate that my memory sucks so much because this was at the beginning of my awakening and it was so cool that I had like, I think I did a whole podcast of like 45 minutes of all these synchronicities that led up to like, that all had to do with whales. But three things: one, healing with sound. So I'm a singer, and also I have like an unnerving sense of sound. Like I can hear supersonically, and sounds really bother me. It's like, I like one time I got rid of the lamp because it was too loud, and somebody was like, "I'm sorry, what are you saying?" And I was like, "The lamp was too loud; it had to go." So I just have incredible hearing, and I always have. Two, ever since my entire life in my dreams, when I was a kid, I was always swimming, but I was like holding my breath for like 20 and 30 minutes in these dreams. A couple of them I could breathe in the water, but the water was like a galaxy. So it was like dark water with stars in it, always, always. I mean, I had thousands of dreams of me swimming, and it was just me swimming forever, and like not panicking because I knew I could hold my breath for a long time, and also that I could sometimes breathe in the water. So that was the second time. But the thing that was like stopped me in my tracks, I still can't believe to this day that it happened. I have a Bluetooth audio in my car. And so this was during the pandemic, when the very beginning where we didn't leave for a long time. And so I would take drives in my car so I wouldn't like lose my mind. And so my phone was going dead. And for some reason, there's a thing with my car. Whenever I plug my phone in, the auxiliary shuts off and I have to go back in and press like iPhone, blah, 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 for it to start playing again. So that happened. My phone was going dead while I was listening to something, and I was like, I'm going to plug it in. And so it shuts off. And so I am waiting. It's on a curvy road. I'm waiting to like press the thing again so I don't die. And a 12-second track comes on. So I have a car that has like it tells you what track and how long it is and whatever is on it, what album it's from. And there's a 12-second track up there that's has no words on it. There's no artist, there's no song title, nothing. And I keep hearing it and I'm like, what is happening? What is going on? So I listened to this track like 40 times because I think I'm legitimately losing my mind. And I don't know how to say this except for I roll all my windows up and I play this 12-second track 30 times, and it's whale calls. I don't know how to, it's just literal whale calls for 12 seconds. And I play it over and over and over again because I'm like, I might need to go somewhere. What is happening? So then I'm like losing it. And I'm like, I want to record. I don't know how technology works. I go to unplug it. The track disappears. And so that's when I was like, okay, I hear you.
Holy shit. So have you, I know you said you have like a shitty memory, but did you try and like, have you ever sat down and like just tried to meditate and like connect in with whale consciousness or the whales? Or I know that you're not like necessarily near the ocean where you live, but like, have you gone to the ocean? Like what do you even, what do you do with that? You know?
Well, I don't do anything with it. Here's the thing is they just tell me things, and I feel like I need to get in the practice of asking more questions, because then people will ask me and I'd be like, that's a really good question. I should ask that. They're just like, because honestly, I guess I was like, okay, you're a whale. Like, what do you do with that? Cool. I guess it's just cool to know. But I love the ocean. When I was a kid, we would go every summer. I didn't know that people didn't like full on like swim in the ocean. I've always done that since I was a little kid. I didn't know like a lot of people don't do that. Maybe that's a white people thing. I've been told that. I've been told that that's a white person thing, that I'm just like so willing to just like, you know what I mean? There is a calmness whenever I get to the ocean, and like I make sure and go at least once a year. I eventually want to live at least half of the year by the ocean, because there's nothing like it that feels like home.
Yeah. Yeah. The ocean talks to me. Like it's one of when I first like really started to kind of digest the information I got from a reading with Mela, that I was like, could communicate with animals from the animal realm, have been all the animals, this and that. It was like a lot. Like it took me weeks to really let that one sink in. And Mela had channeled a ritual for me to do in order to, my mom's shadow side, her shadow self, and my shadow self had morphed together to create one like mega shadow that was like, it like I was being swallowed by, because of my mom's, like, you know, her energetic. It's all energetic and not, you know, I don't think she listens to this podcast. Sorry, Mom, I haven't told you any of this, but she doesn't listen to this. But her shadow and my shadow combined, just, it was like blocking all of my superpowers from coming in. And that deeply resonated. And so Mela in the reading channeled a ritual for me to do. And basically I needed to build like a really big fucking fire, like bigger than a big fire that you're thinking is possible to do with like fire mandates and things like that, especially living on the West Coast. And so I had a group of magical friends, and we went to the coast in Oregon for a weekend, and you can have fires all over the beach in Oregon. And I built a huge fucking fire. And Mela was like, if you do it at the beach, you're going to have to tell the animals that you're okay, because it's going to feel like you're like ripping off almost like it's like a parasitic part of, quote, myself that I was like letting die, like burning off in this ritual. So I had to like tell the animals not to. She's like, dolphins and whales will like beach themselves if you don't tell them that like you're okay and that you don't need them to come to your aid, because it's gonna seem like you really do. And anyways, during that ritual, like my magic friends were with me, and then when it came time for me to do the ritual, I asked them to leave, and they left me alone with this big ass fire to do my ritual for like maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. And I did the ritual, and then I could like very clearly hear the ocean talking to me. And like the ocean was like wanting me to like come back into her. She was like, when are you coming home? Like, we miss you. This is your home. You're free here. Come back into the ocean, like come back and be with us. And for like a month after that, when I was like so drawn, I would like hear the ocean calling me. And I lived in Oregon. I was about an hour-ish, hour and a half away from the ocean. So it was not far at all. But I would hear her like calling to me to come to the ocean. And like, I could see why some people literally just walk into the ocean. You know, it's like, I don't even know if you would call that. I mean, obviously you drown, but I don't think that it's like committing suicide or drowning yourself. Like the call was tempting, like really tempting.
So I have a similar story that involves the beach and fire. So I was in Savannah a couple of months, in the first week of May, but it was still, the water is still pretty cold. Mm-hmm. So nobody was going to get into the water, and I just heard like, go to the water. And I was like, okay. And I'm like normally a little bitch. Like I hate being fucking cold at all. And so a little bit of chilly, I was like, no, we're good. And they're like, no, go in. And I was like, mm-hmm. And I did. And for some reason, where I should have been freezing, I wasn't cold. And then they were like, no, keep going in. And then I was like waist deep, and I keep being like, no, we're good. It's really cold. And then they were like, go all the way under. And I was like, okay. So I went all the way under, and I came up, and they were like, you're born anew, which I didn't really like that verbiage, because like, I don't really do Christianity. So I was like, I don't love born anew. But then, so later that night I was performing a fire activation. So it's like a long ceremony where you burn yourself down, and then you kind of filter this fire throughout. Anyway, it takes like about an hour, a little bit over an hour. And so it is like an ascension activation. And so we do it. And it was the first time I kind of did a thing where I like called in Andromedon. I'd never done that before, and I didn't really know where that came from. I typically am not really present, like kind of channeling, you know what I mean? I'm not really there for a lot of it. I remember some. But so then the fire is almost out, and we were just trying to be like, we were doing like basic like Instagram photo bit like selfies near the fire. And It was a complete black night. And then my friend Tasia took a picture of just the fire, and it was completely burned out. And the photo is just unbelievable. Do you have your phone near you? I will send it to you right now.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, so it's so crazy. So I didn't understand Andromedon, right? So we look at this picture and we're like, wow, this is so crazy. Like everything came in. And this was after I had ended my Galactic Soldier contract. So I did that, and I was kind of like a little bit sad because, it was a little bit of an identity. Like I'm cool. I talk to aliens, blah, blah, blah. And so me being like, no, actually my well-being is more important than being cool. I didn't know if I was going to have any connection with anything. Mm-hmm. So when we did this fire activation, I was kind of like, guys, we can just see what happens. I don't really know. We'll just see what comes up. But then, I started, that Andromedon thing came up, and then so I'm sending you 3 pictures of a close-up. So then I'm in meditation and I hear that again, and I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what that means. And I look it up, and
I just it just glitched for like, as you were talking, it glitched for like maybe 10 seconds. Like I couldn't hear you at all.
I know they do this every time I talk about this. I don't know if they don't like it or what, but I don't care because it's fun. You shouldn't have been in a picture if you didn't want me to talk about it. It's kind of how I feel about it. So they show up dramatically in this picture. So I look up Andromedon because I get that name again.
I'm looking at the pictures on my computer right now.
And so I'm also going to Google this picture. So I'm like, what is that Andromedon? Like I've never even you know what it made me think of? I was like Titus Andromedon from Kimmy Schmidt. That's what I said. Because it's a character, because that's the only Andromedon that I know or whatever. And so then I Google it, and this picture comes up that I'm about to send you right now. And I almost fell out. When you have those moments where you're like, there's no way life is real. There's no way life is real, because how is this fucking happening to me? So the picture that I sent you of like a visual description of Andromedons is almost identical to the figure that showed up in the picture.
Holy shit. I will, for everybody listening, can I share the fire picture on my Instagram post? Yeah, I'll share that. And then the Google search that you just sent, so that they can have a reference. But
if you'll, and on the bigger one, if you'll screen out, there's a few different aliens happening in there. So we got the guy in the back, and then near the fire at the bottom, we've got something. Yeah. And then up in the right corner, we've got the lights also, which are some things. So it was just unbelievably wild.
So what do you, I know that you said that you ended your Galactic Soldier contract, but I guess what I'm thinking about it in this version of reality is that people can be in the military here and then in their contract with the military, but still be connected to they're still a human. They still have a human experience. So it's just because you ended your contract being a soldier version with the Galactic Federation, that doesn't mean that you're not still connected to it, right? I mean, from what you're telling me, from the things that we've talked about off mic, and then from that fucking picture, I mean, so what is your relationship now with Galactic Federation work? And I know you said that sometimes when you're channeling, you don't remember some of it. A lot of it I know is in your dream space, but is there anything that you're consciously aware of that you do work on, or that you've agreed to do, or that just kind of unfolds in your day-to-day life that shows that you still have a connection to this galactic work?
I did a lot of soul searching on it because I was very resentful of not being allowed to be a human, but I've come to peace with it now. When I walked in 2019, I walked in as a galactic being. So to sit there and cancel every single thing that has to do with any kind of alien work isn't really doable, because it's like, that's why you came here. It will just walk you back on out. You know what I mean? If you're not, like, you came here to do that. So what I've done now is I just ask them to show me contracts, and to see which ones I can change, which ones can I alter. Can I alter them? So that's kind of what I'll do now. But the connection isn't gone. I still see, I see them as lights a lot. That's the picture that I showed you, is the most physical form I've ever seen. And I still see lights all day, every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see lights almost like I think people would go to the eye doctor for what I see. You know, like I'm seeing flashes in the
Same.
corner of my eye, or like, yeah, and they don't happen, there's not like constantly, and I see it as it's like a new way that I'm getting a like physical yes, like a resonant yes. Like when I first started waking up in like 2012, I started getting chills down from like the base of my neck to like right before my lower back. Like I would just, anytime something like deeply resonated or was my truth, I would get chills down my back, and I still get those really hard and really intense. And now that I am aware that that is how one way I'm being communicated with, like it just comes in a lot quicker, a lot faster, a lot harder. But also now another thing I'm seeing is like little flashes of lights in my eyes. Which I mean, I don't know. I guess like I think that literally everything is possible. Everything exists. And so I guess for me, I'm not like, oh, the light is coming from this source. Like it's coming from the animals, it's coming from my higher self, it's coming from a future version of me. Like I'm just like, I don't know, there's fucking weird shit all over this reality. Like reality itself is weird and like boundless. So of course I just see weird shit when I'm like thinking of weird shit. And I think that this is a good point in the conversation to lead into. I don't know if you've been feeling like things lately, like in the last, I don't know, a couple weeks, at least maybe a month. I'm not sure. Time is weird for me. I know it's also weird for you, but things have been able to like manifest really quickly. I don't know if you've been experiencing that.
Within hours. I don't even know. Like, I was talking about, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No.
I did a TikTok about manifesting as an example. Like, and I said, for example, talking about like building confidence, and you can do that by manifesting something really small. Like, and I say in this, for example, like manifest a free food or a girl in a purple dress. I wasn't even trying to do that. I just set it on a TikTok as an example, and I literally manifested that within a couple of hours. And I laughed to myself. I was like, I didn't even like really want that.
Yeah.
Like I was just trying to show an example.
So, okay, I definitely have a few examples of that happening to me. Some I can share off mic with you, but some I want to share on mic because I want to talk about Hekate with you. Because
I'll share some more off mic too. I didn't want to say a couple of them.
Okay, good. When I have a Patreon, maybe we'll do all the Patreon off mic.
I do it for Patreon.
Yeah. On mic, you know? But so during the reading I gave for you, where I was tapping into 3 of your dogs, one of them, when I tried to tap into it, it was Daisy. I tried to tap into Daisy's energy, and like I felt like a block. And I was like, maybe Daisy just isn't like a really trustworthy dog. Maybe she has a lot of anxiety. Maybe she's really closed off. Maybe this is something I can bring up to Brittany and see if it resonates. And then I moved on to another one of your dogs, and it was Blue, I believe. Blue's the one that's passed, right? Yeah. So once I started tapping into Blue, and Blue was talking to me about what was going on with them, then all of a sudden Daisy wanted to come back in, and I got an entirely different read on Daisy's personality, and that had never happened before. And so when you and I were on the phone, I told you that, and then you told me that you believe that Daisy has a connection to Hekate, and that it's really Hekate's dog, and that initial hesitance to communicate with me was probably me meeting Hekate, who is like protecting Daisy. Yeah. And so ever since you and I had that reading, you're not the first person. I've done a reading for someone in the past where they believe that their dog was brought to them from Hekate. And like in that reading, I was just like, I think I Googled Hekate and I wasn't interested in it. I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. Goddess of dogs or something. No offense, Hekate. I'm going to say that now because, she's been coming in since that reading with you. My curiosity was so sparked that I started Googling and watching videos and listening to podcasts and like learning, because I think that you also said, I'm sure that she would love to work with you considering the work that you do with animals and with dogs specifically. Long story short, the Hekate the synchronicities have not stopped, and like the manifesting is almost I feel like right now the energy is you are manifesting what is supposed to be drawn to you. And so when people are talking about how you can manifest things really quickly right now, initially I got really nervous. I was like, oh, I should like not be thinking about me being worried about my finances or worried about like, I don't know, just bad shit, 'cause maybe I'll manifest that to me. Like that was my initial fear, which I know isn't true, but it is where I initially went when
I have that fear.
Yeah, right.
I have that fear still.
Yeah. And then I realized yesterday I had a crazy fucking day. The last 2 days have been just nuts. But I have seen I'm manifesting shit that I'm supposed to be like more or less that I called in a while ago is now coming in because I'm paying attention to it more. And okay, long backstory to say I've seen 2 bears in the last week. Like I think it's been 5 days I've seen 2 bears in the wild. I have hiked all over the country. I have camped and spent time in grizzly country. Like I have been in a lot of places where I should have seen bears. I've never seen a bear in the wild. 2 bears in the last week. One, I was driving and it was really far away. This thing was so fucking big. Like I had no reference. I was like, oh, I guess it's just how big all bears are, until I saw the second bear, which was last night when I went on a walk in the neighborhood, and I was maybe 50 feet from a bear and it was so small. I thought it was a really big dog. And then I was like, oh shit, no, that's a bear. And the reason that this is all tied into Hekate is because in my research of Hekate, she's connected to many different animals, but one of them is bears. It's like bears, crows, snakes, obviously black dogs. And then when I was driving from my hike today to go and get food before I came back to record with you, I was behind a truck that had 3 huge black Rottweilers in the back of it, and Hekate's associated with 3s. And like literally just and like the dark moon, Hekate is like most powerful on the dark moon. We just had a new moon yesterday. I was so fucking energized. Anyways, like the Hekate synchronicities have not stopped. I am overwhelmed. That's just like the bears, the dogs. It's like everything. So I would love if you would talk about your connection to Hekate, what that relationship looks like with Daisy. I know that you said that you feel like Daisy is really Hekate's dog. Daisy is a big black dog. Like anything you want to talk about with that. Okay, so here is where the audio starts to get really glitchy, right when Brittany started to go into detail about Daisy's relationship to Hekate and what that's looked like for her. I'll go ahead and play a little bit of that audio for you now so you can see what I'm talking about.
So Daisy is also my 3rd black dog. So that's interesting. I've had 3 dogs and she's the 3rd black one. They've all been black. This one's really strange because while I'm part alien, part witch, the alien galactic part took over everything. I was pretty much not doing anything like witch related. And you and I had discussed, like, I don't really do Christianity, or like any religion. So worshiping anything outside of myself is not really something that resonates with me either. But I've kind of said to you, now it kind of feels like you work with people more than like worshiping someone. It definitely feels like, I work with her, and a lot of people do. And so it's just really strange because I'm definitely not the first. There's tons of people that work for her. I love that one of her modes is like, giving people black dogs. That's a funny one. I wasn't giving people black dogs. That's a funny one. I wasn't in that, and I went from in the morning to visiting my friend's girlfriend's dog to and there I was like, oh my God, this is from in the morning to visiting my friend's girlfriend's dog to and there I was like, oh my God, this is so cute, but I can't get a dog right now. And then I lose, I black, extreme disassociation almost, but it's not triggered by anything.
So the entire time that Brittany is talking about Hekate, and I don't know if you noticed, but right when she started to talk about Hekate and Daisy's relationship, the audio started to like repeat itself and then build on top of itself in a really strange way. And I've used this recording platform for many podcast episodes and interviews, and this has not ever happened before. So I just wanted to play that for you guys so you could see what was happening. And I was thinking about maybe trying to edit it a lot and save some of the story, but honestly, out of respect for Hekate and Daisy's relationship, I am not going to try and save any of it, and I'm not going to explain what Brittany was saying to you now. Because I after Brittany tells her story about Daisy and Hekate, I go on to talk a little bit about my research of Hekate and the things that I learned just a little bit. And one thing I don't think that I mentioned is, I mean, Hekate is a very serious entity, deity, goddess. See, I'm not even sure, this audio might get fucked up too because I might be disrespecting her, but the relationships that she has with embodied beings on Earth at this time, from the research that I've done, which is not a lot, but it is some, the relationship is really like personal to her and to the person and living beings that she works with, in this case Brittany and her dog Daisy. And so I think that, yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it at that, and then I'll just pick back up with my response to Brittany's story, talking a little bit about my research of Hekate and my synchronicities with Hekate, and we'll go from there. So, interesting shit, people. When I've watched like a couple videos on Hekate, just trying to find, like, I was like, I don't fucking know anything about her, and so I need to I don't know. So I just needed to watch some videos and learn some things. And in my research of Hekate, a lot of the things that she is associated with are things that, like, over the last month or 6 months to month, like anywhere in that time, I have shown interest in, where maybe I haven't had interest before. One of them is I took a poisonous plant medicine class, and then the teacher was Catherine Soley, and her Instagram and like her website is Persephone's Path. And so, and in that class, I learned about all these different, quote, poisonous plants, which Catherine, I mean, there's debate on whether they're poisonous or not, like in the way that society deems them to be, but that's a whole nother conversation. But one of the plants that we learned about and that I was so drawn to was the yew tree. I just thought, I was like, oh, I just fucking love trees. And here's like this amazing fucking tree that is also considered poisonous, but has all this like energetic, all these energetic lessons to it. And it has this whole consciousness that you can communicate with. I mean, you can communicate with all plant consciousness, but I was just really drawn to yew tree, so much so that Catherine makes these like energetic medicines of the poisonous plants that we learned about in class. And I bought 2 vials of the yew tree one because I was so drawn to it. Turns out that Hekate is associated with the yew tree. I have had dreams. I've had a couple dreams of getting a snake tattoo on this arm, but I already have 3 tattoos on it. So in the dream, I don't have any tattoos and I'm just getting this giant serpent and I'm like so excited for it. I'm like going through like the 3D shit. I'm like putting down a deposit. I'm talking about it with the artist. I'm like, yeah, give me this whole big snake. And since that dream, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just going to I'm going to figure out how to get a giant snake on my arm. Hekate is associated with serpents. Obviously the dog things, but it's like now that I mean, the bear shit is crazy. Like, people have lived in this area of New Mexico their whole lives and maybe only seen 2 bears the whole time. I've been here for 3 weeks, and within 5 days, I saw 2 bears, to a point where I'm like, okay. Like, literally on that walk, I was walking in like a neighborhood, and I thought to myself, I wouldn't even know what to do if like a bear came at me. And in my mind, I was just thinking about like what to do to keep the bear and I safe, because like if I can protect myself in the best way possible, then I don't have to get like terribly injured and then they don't go and hunt down the bear. So I'm like, how do we work together here? You know? So in my mind, I played through a whole scene of what I would do if a bear came up to me. And then I just started thinking about other shit. And then I turned around on the walk and I started walking back and I see a fucking bear. And I was like, okay, it's these kinds of manifestations that like I'm not thrilled that are so easily happening right now. I mean, it was obviously it was fine, and the bear it had no intention of hurting me. I scared it, and it ran away from me, and then stood and looked at me, and then I looked at it, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is the coolest fucking thing!" And then I was like, "Oh shit, this is a bear. Maybe I shouldn't linger. You know, maybe I should keep walking." But then like Hekate being associated with the bears, and it's like, it's just everything. It's just it's intimidating, and I've been talking with her a lot. She's like a basically she's the entity of like liminal space. Like she can go to the dark world, to the light world. She's like a bridge between. I deeply fucking resonate with that. Like almost everything about her that I know so far, it feels like me. It resonates deeply in a way that like I just don't give a shit about any other thing. And anyways, I'm hesitant to start working with her.
So there's a lane of magic people that make me laugh a whole lot. And I would put you in this lane of people who are extremely magical and they like refuse to believe blatant signs. Like I have a friend who's so obviously Fae, and she's like, no, I'm going to need a written email from the Fae Federation. and it just makes me laugh. And it's like, oh, the 45,000 sinks that didn't. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So it makes me laugh. So you're like, I hesitate. I just don't know, even though there's 40 billion signs all around me pointing to that.
Yeah. I guess I just don't know, like, because some of the videos that I've watched, they were like, Hekate can be, I don't know if they've used the word, she's like a wrathful deity, she's a wrathful goddess, but like, I don't know, they just kind of like the way that they were talking about her in some of the videos and stuff, it's like they work with her, but they also have like they have a respect for her, but it's almost like borderlining healthy fear of her. And like, I am just, yeah. And so I just don't know if I am willing, because one of them was like, if you start working with Hekate, you are basically going to be working with her for the rest of your life. And I'm not good at commitments. And so I'm like, look, Hekate, like I keep talking to her. I had a fire ceremony the other night, like in her honor, like a couple different things. I don't know. I'm just winging it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not a very formal person, and I just don't feel like in danger with her now, but I'm just like, I don't know if I can commit to a lifetime working with you. And that's where I hesitate. Also because I don't know.
I think that different people have different relationships with her, to be honest. I think some people are literally like it is meant for them. They are dedicated to her. She is very, like, my altar is definitely dedicated to her, but she definitely knows that like most of the work that I do is alien. And it's not like, but she definitely knows that like that pulled me out of the galactic soldier contract, but it's definitely like understood. Do you know what I'm saying? And in that, I would say that it's definitely like understood. Do you know what I'm saying? She shows up for me, but probably not really, like she doesn't show up really big.
Okay, so I am back, popping in post-recording session to draw your attention to the fact that when we started talking about Hekate and Brittany's relationship, the audio started doing the exact same thing it did when we were talking about Hekate and Daisy's relationship earlier in the podcast. Now, this is a shorter segment of audio, and I want to leave the whole thing in because it only glitches for a short amount of time, and then it starts to even out. And I just want you guys to pay attention to how it's glitching and when it starts to even out, to notice when Hekate is present and messing with the audio, because at this point I am 100% convinced that that is what's happening. So I will go ahead and start playing Brittany's audio again so that you guys can notice what I'm talking about, and hopefully I don't have to interject in this podcast recording another time, but we'll see.
But probably not really, like she doesn't show up really big like for other people that I know she has. And I think it's directly related to that, like dedication, because I will never be, I'm too much, I am very much 50-50, and I will never be able to 100% dedicate myself to her because I worked so hard with the alien. I mean, they're the ones that do the clearings with me. I mean, she's there definitely as soul backup for people, but she doesn't show me the programs to remove. She's not there. She's just kind of there as like a helping hand when I need to do work in the liminal space, like mediumship or help to transition souls. Work in the liminal space, like mediumship or help to transition souls.
Yeah, so you just feel her like energetically with you while you're doing this work. Does she help, like does she like maybe guide you on like what to do, kind of like, I don't know, I'm thinking of like Jessica and Oscar's relationship, how like Jessica does the work but Oscar just kind of like helps guide her how to do it. Does it feel like that with Hekate when you're in those liminal spaces with your work? Okay, hi, I'm back. I can't make this shit up, guys. There is a 5 to 10 second piece of Brittany's audio that does not exist in the recorded file that I have for her answering my question. So I would say maybe like in any other case, I would be annoyed and I would blame technology, but I just think this is so fucking interesting, and I'm really excited that you guys are here to witness the weirdness of this reality manifesting in an audio recording for this podcast. So anyways, there's a chunk of her audio missing, but I'm just going to play it right from the part that I have where she kind of answers my question. So here we go.
To say, because my friend that works like extremely closely with her, we have like a business together where we do candles and stuff. And when we're together and we make stuff, Hekate runs the show. Like that's all there is to it. She's the one that's running all of that. So that's a big part of it, but runs the show. Like that's all there is to it. She's the one that's running all of that. So that's a big part of it, but I would say it's exactly like you just described.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too, like something that bumps up against my beliefs about the world is like this old way of like performing magic or ritual or ceremony, or like working with certain like deities or goddesses or gods or anything like that. I just feel like some of it is outdated in my opinion, like how it's contractual, how there's like contracts involved and like you have to stick to them, and there's all this like you have to play this kind of music and you have to wear this kind of thing and you have to do it at this time when the sun's at this, and it's like I just don't believe that I have to do anything. Like I do not feel bound as a duty to do anything for anyone ever if I don't want to do it. And I feel like it's the same with non-physical beings, like energetic beings in the ether, beings that we communicate with, and places that we go when we dream or things like that. It's like I don't feel like any of that is concrete, so I don't feel like the way that I work with you or praise you or honor you is concrete. And so I think too, you make a really good point, and you're making me think about it a little differently. It's like I think that I'm hesitant to just like jump in with Hekate because of the videos and like the podcasts and stuff, where a lot of these witches that have worked with her are like, don't start working with Hekate if you've never worked with anybody. You know, this is not like the first one that you work with because of this, and that. But it's like, I have never been called like this before though. So I think that like I am allowed to make up my own rules, and not even rules. I'm allowed to go about it with my own hesitancy or confidence or whatever the fuck I want, because she's calling to me and I'd be a fool to ignore it.
I have seen gatekeeping in all communities, the witch community being one of them. Now, this is just my opinion. I feel like mainly because most of the stuff that I do, I'm told. I don't know any of that. I didn't know like the history of Hekate. I didn't know any of those things because, you know, when you work with aliens, there's no book to show it. You just work like that. So I have always been under the impression that you know, you make an agreement with that person. So, you know, you working with Hekate is an agreement. And I think I don't enjoy when people do things like, you have to be committed. And if you don't know how to do it, you're not doing it right. It feels like gatekeeping to me when people say things like, once you start working with her, you can't work with her, like you can't quit. I don't like any rules or any thing that you have to do with anybody's magic. Every single person is different. And I think the minute that a thing that you have to do with anybody's magic, every single person is different, and make them prove by time or experience that they've had. I think the easier, even if it's just in a moment and we don't make them prove by time or experience that they've had, I think the easier we're going to allow these or anything. So that's kind of my opinion on the telling people how to work with deities or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I really agree with you because it just feels outdated. It just feels like it just feels like patriarchal systems that are falling. And it's like, I think that this is what like Jessa is talking about. It's like, find those things that are inside of you, you know, that make you believe that like you have to follow certain rules because of A, B, and C, or like whatever. And it's so I think that a lot of that kind of does like weave itself into, you know, maybe old magic, because a lot of it, like ceremonial magic, is really intimidating. Like I was really interested in it, but a lot of it is just like, oh shit, like I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm just walking into this while I'm interested in it. There's a lot of rules in place, and it's like I am not good at rules or commitment, and so right away I want to walk away from ceremonial magic. But I do my own form of ceremonial magic, you know what I mean? And it's like I'm always doing it one way or another. I'm just maybe not following it by the book, and I feel like I don't have to. So I totally agree with everything that you just said. Yeah.
The reason that you don't have to is I'm a wing it witch, is what I like to say. It's because the reason why you don't have to follow spells is because we're not looking for spells. We're remembering them. That's the thing. We're remembering them. We're not looking up for spells. So when people are like, when I say, like, I literally don't look at spell. I don't own a spell book. I don't look at other people's. Like, I make up my own shit, even with, especially with witch stuff. Like, I literally make up everything, and it's not me making it up. It's me remembering. And it's one of those things. As soon as we let go and allow ourselves to remember, as opposed to learn, we're going to be more magic. Allow ourselves to remember, as opposed to learn, we're going to be more magic.
Have you seen the docuseries Hellier?
No.
Have you heard of it?
No.
You should. I think that you might. I mean, it's probably one of the most intriguing things I've ever seen filmed before. It's both about like paranormal reality. It's about magic, ceremonial magic. It's about like the consciousness and energy. It's literally about like everything. But it started as like some paranormal investigators got together to create like a short documentary, and it turned into like this big, long, beautiful thing. But at the end of it, they were basically like taking all of these synchronicities and these experiences, and they were applying what they knew from like history that they've learned of like the paranormal, of aliens, of magic. And they were like, okay, we're trying to figure out what is happening based off of all of the stuff that we already know. And right at the end of it, they realized that whatever was communicating with them, like, didn't want old magic. It wanted new magic. And it was like inspiring them to like do something new, because like the old stuff wasn't quite working for them. And it was a lot of like trial and error. And like one of their friends was like, because they want new magic. And that I think what you just said kind of like really, it just, I don't know, solidified something that I was already feeling from watching that series. And like all of the things that I do, like I do a lot of fire rituals and a lot of bath rituals. Those are like my two. And the things that I do with my body and my voice, the things that I write down, the things that I burn during a fire ritual, I don't ever plan on it. It just kind of comes up in the moment. I'm like, I never talk like this any other time. It's almost like I'm speaking in poetry. And so that is like a form of my own spell. And I really like that you said that, because I think that sometimes it is intimidating to like write my own spell, because then my programming comes up and I'm like, am I doing it right? Is this wrong? You know what I mean? Like, what am I invoking with this? Like, I just want to make sure that I'm protected. And like, my team is coming in right now and they're like, bitch, you are protected. Like, you're always protected. Like, I feel very energetically protected, but I still have that fear of like calling something in that I don't want in my field and then having to get rid of it, you know?
I think, and it's a struggle. I struggle with both of those things because I do, sometimes I wonder, because the activations and stuff, I learned those from Amy Spicer. And so when I'm doing them, there's a part of me that's like, that's not how she does it. And then I'm like, you're not her. You know what I mean? I'm having that fight in my head of like, you're not supposed to do it like her. She taught you to make it your own, not to do exactly like her. And then I do also struggle with, what do I bring in? But I think the big thing with that is knowing that no matter what you bring in, you can handle it and that you are the most powerful. I think that can really alleviate people's fears in trying things, because once you realize that you are the most powerful thing, an awake person and a human body is more powerful than anything else, then I think you're more willing to be like, well, let me just dip my toe in a little bit more and see.
Yeah, because I mean, we're all being called to dip our toe in,
Yes.
you know, in one way or another, we're all being called to dip our toe into the thing that we're meant to dip our toe into, or our whole body. Let's fucking face it. We're getting asked to jump into the ocean of the unknown. And that's fucking scary. But that Amy saying that and Jessa saying like, you are the most powerful being because you're an awake human in a physical body has comforted me in the night, because like, look, if I point my perception at something long enough, like it's become like, I feel like there is no more barrier between myself and the other worlds. That like, I mean, there's this movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves. Have you heard of it? It came out like early 2000s.
I've heard of it, but I don't love Keanu Reeves, so I haven't seen it. He's a great person.
Look, we don't know if he's a great person.
I actually have heard he's a really good person. I've actually heard that he's a really good person. Seriously.
Well, if you're listening to this, Keanu, we've heard that you're a really good person. But the movie itself is literally about like he, I can't remember exactly like what, I don't know if he like has always been connected to like the to hell basically, and he could always see like demons in the world, and you know, and that the movie is problematic to me because there's a lot of like Christian belief systems in it, even though they're trying to be edgy and like go to hell and shit, it's still like a lot of Christianity. Like I think that you can talk about angels and it not have to be the Christian version of it. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. I rewatched that movie the other night because I just really wanted to. And the way that I'm like half in the other worlds at all times and half in this world now. That like, I just pointing my perception at this movie, like there were beings. I invited beings into the room that I'm in. So I literally had to like smudge the entire room. And that happens sometimes. Like when I watch Hellier, because I'm on my third, I love it so much. I'm on my third rewatch currently. And there are certain episodes that when I watch it activates something and like I like invite something into my bubble, my shielded protected area. And so then I have to like tell it to get out. And I don't always think that like what I've invited in is actually scary. I just have a lot of programming that like, you know, pop culture in Hollywood has convinced me that like these things are bad and going to eat my soul or whatever, you know what I mean? And I don't think that any of that's true. And I don't love that how people vilify, you know, creatures of the dark or like creepy, you know, I don't think that any of that's true. Like I really have a soft spot for demons. But yeah, there's just so much. I feel like I could talk to you for fucking ever. This has been a
I
really great
know.
conversation. I don't want to make it too long. We're already at like
Yes.
an hour and 13 minutes, but I seriously have so many other questions for you. But I guess talk a little bit about like the readings that you offer, because even just you like made a really simple oracle deck, which I love how simple it is because it's like you can't really fuck up the meaning behind that. But I like asked a question on there and I really thought it was like really insightful. And I'm the type of person that or not even the type of person, I don't know if that description fits what I'm about to say, but I have the way that my timelines are is like like a tarot readings and oracle readings rarely work for me because all of my timelines are woven into each other and I have like millions like wrapped around me at any given time that like when people that can see timelines read mine, they're like there's you should not get tarot readings, like it's impossible, you jump timelines so often, and that really resonates with me. So all that to be said, I was really excited to have something resonate with me from what you did in a simple like Instagram ask a question kind of format. So anyways, talk about what you offer, what it looks like, and I highly recommend whatever it is.
Actually don't use my cards for readings. I have an intuitive reading that's about 45 minutes where I just tap into your guides and mine, and we can talk about if like future timelines or kind of whatever you're going through there. I would say probably my thing that I'm the best at would be energy clearings. So these are usually about an hour and a half. They take a little bit longer where we can remove programs, any blockages that you're having. But the tarot deck, the oracle deck, that's actually a deck that I'm making with an artist. So I would appreciate all your questions because what I'm doing is I'm kind of using Instagram as beta testing. So once a week, I've been doing these questions so I can see which cards we're going to keep and which ones we're not. So, but you can check out my readings on my Instagram. I've got a link in my bio.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I always have people like say what their Instagram is, but to be like I mean you could say it, but I feel like I'm going to tag it all down in the bottom of the show notes anyways, but go ahead and say like what your Instagram is and where people can find you too.
It's Britwitch Alien Sitch, and I also have a podcast with Courtney Morgan Intuitive called Astral Chat. If you guys don't care to check that out too.
Yes, and I'll link that down. And then you make those. What are the necklaces called that you make?
I have another thing with my friend Tasia, who does photography. She does all the magic, beautiful photos of me and a few other people. Her and I have a company called Anastasia Blue Alchemy. We make spell jars, crystal earrings, intention candles, all kinds of things. So you can, all of those are in my bio.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll link all the stuff in the show
Thank
notes
you
too.
so much. Sorry for all the many things that I just had to say.
What? Don't be sorry for it. We are all impressed. We are all impressed
Thank you.
with all of the things that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Oh, hey, it's your girl back again at the end of the podcast. So I'm sure that you guys noticed that there were a couple other moments in the audio where, it was repeating and layering on itself, just like it had done all the previous times I came on. But I wanted to leave all of that in because there seemed to be some importance to some of the things that were repeated. And also, I just love how strange this audio ended up becoming. Because during the recording, there was only one time that it glitched for me. But that moment that it glitched was when Brittany was talking about seeing the Andromedon being at the fire, and it was recorded. So you hear me say, oh, it cut out for 10 seconds, but you guys heard the audio. So it glitched for me. It's in the recording. But all these other times with Brittany talking about Hekate, there was no known errors in the audio at the time of the recording. So I just think that it's really significant. And I wanted to leave it in. And I'm just really curious about this phenomenon. And I'm just really excited that we caught it. on audio, or we didn't even know what was happening. I don't fucking know. Did it happen during the recording? Did it happen after we recorded when I was downloading it? Did it happen as I was editing the podcast? Who fucking knows? I just think that it's wild and it's cool and it's weird and it's everything that I want this podcast to be. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the weirdness of it and aren't too concerned that the audio's fucked up. And if you are, go find another podcast where the audio is perfect, because you ain't going to get it here. But I know you guys don't care, right? I don't care. I love you guys. Bye.